This is Dan here from Rune Silk, and I'm joined by one other, and that's none other than Damo for show, and this is the Beardmail podcast. So sit back, listen, and enjoy.
Good morning, podcast listeners. Good morning, YouTube viewers. It is the Beardmail podcast with me, Damo for show, and him.
It's the Beardmail podcast with me, Dan from Rune Silk, and one other, and that's none other than Damo for show.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. It is, if you're watching fresh, if you're new, and if you get there right when it's launched, it's probably going to be a Wednesday morning, about 7 or 7:30. We try to make sure the podcast is released in time for Lewis to have a little listen before he gets to work. So welcome. I hope you're having a good hump day so far. If you're watching back on another day, another time, it doesn't matter. These are timeless episodes, and today's episode, let's get the hook in, Dan, is going to be all about
Oxford Beard Festival.
The Oxford Beard Festival. That's right, Dan. We're talking about more. It's a beard competition, but it's called a beard festival, right? Which is pretty cool. It was an amazing event. It's held every year. Hopefully they'll be doing it every year now. It was the 10th one they've ever done, but obviously because of COVID, they had a little bit of a wobble. But it's the Oxford Beard Festival held in Oxford every year. It was an absolute banger. How did you enjoy yourself, Dan?
Yeah, it was really good fun, actually. I had a massively good time. But before we answer any more questions, those of you who are listening, please do go check out the YouTube version of this, because my eyes, the reflection of my screen on my sunglasses makes me look like I've got Bo Selector comical eyes. So it's worth just tuning in just to have a look at these really weird perspective eyeballs that I've got behind my glasses. It's really quite weird. Anyway, it's great. It was a really good time, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The venue was phenomenal, really stunning. Again, always a pleasure just to see bearded folk in one venue together, just having a wicked time. I think that's probably one of my favourite parts of any of these beard competitions, really, is just catching up with people that you tend to see in a digital world or digital space, be it Facebook, Instagram or whatever, finally getting in a room, having a hug, sharing a drink, and also just meeting new people as well.
You could have had your own drink, Dan. You didn't have to share one, mate.
Mate, it's a recession coming.
We've already covered that one. So let's tell people, let's imagine they've never been to a beard competition ever. And also, let's imagine the audience listening, some of them may have been there. I know some people, it was their first ever beard competition and they had an absolute banger and a whale of a time. I don't know if you recall, we had Ian Morris bowled with bars. He was on our Tashioed chaps one, and well, actually, all three of the gents we had on the Beardmail podcast talking about Tashes, they were all there at this competition. But it was Ian's first competition, and I know he had an absolute belter of a time, and he's still going on about it now. But let's set the scene for how the build-up happens, because before we even get to the venue and talk about the venue, talk about your experience of it, because obviously I played a role on the day, and you played a role on the day. Had you been to the Oxford before? Was that your first?
No, first time I've been to the
your
Oxford.
First Oxford as well. So tell me your experience in the lead up to it and sort of getting there before the day unfolds.
I think that I'd already had kind of really good impressions of what it was going to be like, just because of the theme that they'd gone for. It was something a bit different than just your usual beard competition. It was a bit more fun than kind of rigid. So I was kind of looking forward to seeing how that kind of event would sort of turn out. The only pain for me as a brand was the distance from the car to get stuff to the venue. But it was a bit of hard graft there and a bit of hard graft back, and that was kind of it. And to be fair, I got a massive help on the way in with some hench bearded dude with a massive trolley. I think it was just walking into the venue, it was nice, looked really nice and light inside, and then I didn't know what to expect, and then it all kicked off, and there were games and all sorts of wickedness. So yeah, it's
So
really
you were
good.
there
I enjoyed it.
obviously in a room silk capacity, and selling your wares, and you had all your swag set up in the room. But also, Dan, I see you. I got my eyes on what's happening at these comps, and I see you were working the room, man. There was, every time I look round, there's Dan chatting to A, there's Dan chatting to B, there's Dan chatting to C, D, E, F, G. Dan is chatting to everybody. You got your chat on, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, to be honest, I probably could have done with having an assistant at the market at my actual trade stand, because I was never there. So when everyone says, "Oh, how did you do financially?" I was like, "Well, I didn't really stand at my stand. I was too busy talking to people." But for me, I prefer that rather
What it's
than,
all about.
And there were a few people that kind of go, "Oh, let's have a look at some of your stuff," and then I take them back to the stand. But for me, attending these beard competitions isn't, how much stuff I can sell to people at these events. It's about being there and just getting to know people, and people getting to know me, and just on a personal level, rather than come buy my shit, please.
And we will talk about building friendships and also falling out with people and losing decent friendships when we get to talk about the tug of war, which will be later. But let's set the scene a little bit more. First of all, let's have a massive shout out for Suze and Faith, who are the mother and daughter combo who put it all together with Susie's fella Gray, and they did loads of work in the build up to it. I asked them a couple of years ago, actually. I said, look, I love the Oxford Beard Festival. Can I be part of it in a DBFC capacity? I just wanted to do a little bit of something. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something. Because the Oxford Beard Festival, being different from the other competitions, is that they have to, or they always choose to have, some extracurricular categories. So there are the standard ones in there. So, under 6 inch, over 6 inch, etc. Freestyle and partial beards and that. So for those of you that don't know, a proper beard competition on a British scale, on a world stage, will usually have anywhere from 20 to 25 categories of different beards to choose from and to compete with. However, a smaller event will tend to have 4, 5, or 6 categories. That's how they seem to work. But the Oxford has the 4, 5, or 6 standard ones, and then they added on, because their theme this year was the world's strongest beard and moustache. They added on some extracurricular stuff. So there was Atlas stone lifting with your beard. It was basically how strong is your beard. Atlas stone lifting. They had a vehicle pull where your beard, you attached it to a vehicle and pulled it. We'll talk about that. They also had a tug of war out there for a proper. Let's not talk about tug of war. We will talk about it, but it's a sore subject. And they also had, what else did they have?
There's a story of deception. There's a story of deceit.
They had the skill and balance. You didn't have any of this, but the moustaches. So hanging things on people's moustaches, whose moustache was the strongest. So that's what I love about it, that they have the theme. So people traditionally tend to turn up in a little bit of fancy dress. And I had the absolute pleasure of helping with some of the organisation earlier on. And then on the day, I had the pleasure of comparing, and I still don't know how you say it. Is it comparing or comparing or comparing? I don't know.
No, it's compere.
Compere, because at the pre-party, right? So some people got there on the Friday. The party and the gig was on the Saturday. Some people got there on the Friday, and on the Friday at the venue, we'll talk about the venue as well because it's amazing. They had a wedding on, and people came out of the wedding and were walking back to the same hotel as me and Smithy were staying at. And I said to them, they said, "Oh, are you in the wedding?" I'm like, "No, there's a beard competition tomorrow. I'm the compere." And they were like, "You mean you're the compere?" I'm like, "Yeah, the compere." And they're like, "No, the compare." No, I'm not comparing. I'll be comparing. I thought it had a little wiggly bit on the E, which means you pronounce
it French. Compere.
Yeah, and all these people in the wedding party were assuring me it's comparing. But I don't know whether they just had a bit too much vino, and they were a little bit excited about the fact that we're going to be comparing beards. I don't know. But anyway. So I had gracefully been asked to be the compere, and I loved it. I really loved it. I was a little bit nervous at the beginning. Because I didn't know how it was going to pan out. The venue was the River Isis farmhouse. So it was right on the river, which did mean there wasn't a car park there, Dan, and you couldn't get your car right up to the front. But me and Smithy arrived on a boat, on a paddle boat, on a kayak and a canoe. I nearly forgot about that. So we had mentioned it before in the last charity fundraising. But basically, me and my good friend Jason Smith, we dressed up as strongmen. We put the fancy dress strongman attire on. We got up very early in the morning on the Friday, and we pumped up our kayak and we paddled with bold caps on and strongman outfits. We paddled the length the length of the River Thames. It was actually 18 miles altogether to get to the venue. And it was it wasn't supposed to take us too long, and it ended up taking us bloody nearly 12 hours to do it because we had some puncture trouble. Smithy's shoulders were playing him up a little bit because he's not as young as he used to be. And I was busy doing a lot of the social media. But anyway, we got there, and you know what? Our total actually fundraising, we're over £800 already that we've raised now, even post event. So well done, Smithy, for all your paddling, and thanks to everybody that supported. But I think that lends itself to the nature of a beard competition, is that sometimes you get people turn up in a quirky fashion or a charitable fashion, and the whole event that was on the Saturday was also for charity. So I think they've raised £800 as well, actually, for Oxfordshire Mind and for the Lions Barber Collective, and they had guest speakers from each of those charities to tell people a little bit about the charities. So to sort of surmise it, it's a beard competition. The venue was brilliant. It's a wedding venue, basically. They've got different sections. It's actually quite a small pub with massive extracurricular bits bolted on the side that are quirky event type marquees, or not conservatories is not the right word, but extra room and extra areas for these things. So the guys who run it, Noreen and Adrian, the landlord and landlady, phenomenal, lovely people, got amongst it as well, got some fancy dress and got involved, but really, really let us just take over the section we had, and it was really, really, really top notch. And I think there's something quirky about Oxford as well. There's a certain type of people and the locals and everything that Oxford has to offer as a city. I think it brings lots of different sorts of people to it, and it was a very different vibe, I thought, and a very different event from what you're used to, and I think that's why it stands out. I think that's why it was so good. And I haven't even talked about the burlesque stuff that happened at the end. Now, I feel like I've just spoke for about an hour there, and I still haven't covered everything. So, if you've never been
a really
to
long event, I mean, it went on to quite long. I mean, I had to shoot off, unfortunately, because my hotel was once again Airbnb savagery. About a few days before the event, my host had to cancel it, so I just went, "No, do you know what? I'm not going to try and find alternative accommodation. I'm just going to go home." So I think I had to get off about 10 o'clock, which was about when all the nighttime entertainment kicked off, because I had to get all my stuff back to the car and then drive back to Cambridge. So I missed out on that. And I saw all the videos of the press ups and all that sort of stuff that looked really quite fun, and all the debauchery stuff that was happening there, with Ian was doing all sorts of sexual stuff with the press ups. So I missed all of that, which I was gutted. And obviously I wasn't drinking either, so I was kind of like, I wasn't kind of in that kind of usual drunken Dan vibe. But yeah, the stuff that during the day was still really, really good. Also, I didn't say my beard wasn't in a good state to be able to take part in the Atlas Stones or the Strong Beard. But what did they work out the combined weight of what Fern actually pulled? I think I worked out something like 35, maybe 38 stone in weight that he pulled. But yeah, so obviously I didn't take part in that. But the tug of war, we will talk about the tug of war.
Not yet. I need to build up to it, Dan, because it's an emotional time for me.
There was a lot of outrage in the build up, and
there was a lot of scandal
during, even the winners,
and deceit
and scandal. But I think I mean, there's still like the competition part to talk about as well. But I mean, we've covered competitions quite a lot. I mean, in terms of competitions, the judging, you know, the everyone lining up to then be judged. And one thing that was different about this one, actually, that I've noticed that I hadn't seen at others was, and I felt really bad actually for the judges. Well, I know I did get to judge, but it was also the fact that prior to that, the judges feel your beard. Whereas most of them, they'll take a look at a distance and they'll judge you for the beard. But this one, they kind of get all up and have a feel of the beard. And I literally 5 minutes before I got up, I was like, I better chuck a load of beard oil in there. So they're all like, oh yeah, silky smooth. And then I just see them like that. Oh. Cheers, mate. Because I wanted it all shiny in there, you know, before I got up there. And then I saw everyone getting their beards fondled. And I was just like, oh, this is going to go down well.
You've done that wrong. And the oil is for the skin. We all know that. You should have put maybe a twinge of butter in and give it enough time to air dry out. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I was there trying to make sure it was all good, and I wasn't really dressed for the occasion either. I had my Rune Silk t-shirt on. I should have maybe made a bit of an effort dressing up. You might you might gauge from what I'm saying here is no, I didn't place. Didn't even get
Oh.
a trophy, didn't get a medal.
But
Didn't even win
the
tug of war.
accolade. You had the accolade and the kudos of judging. You were a judge for one of them, and obviously you were there in a room to capacity as well. So you're still a big
Oh,
part
that judging. That was the most fearful, scary category ever.
because you were
judging.
nearly late.
Well, yeah, that, and but not only that, they're like, oh, Dan, can you judge the children's category? I'm like, they're just going to get 10. Sure, you can't score them below a 10. Like, they've put this effort in to make a beard, and you've got to sit there and kind of be really judgmental and go, well, one of them's got to win, right? So how do you go about judging a kids category without being a complete arse about it? So, so I'm having to sit there and have to like just score one lower than the other, and I didn't want to cause any tears or anything. So the pressure was on. Sitting there sweating away, going, oh, God. Can see their parents are watching me as I'm like scoring their kid. Like
that's the angle, Dan. What you need to be doing is not judging the kids, but judging the parents and working out who's put the most effort into the kid's beard. Because
that was it.
I know for a fact Dan Silky Brown made the whole thing. I know for a fact.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I wanted to ask a question. I was like, did you actually make that, or did your mum do that? My mum did it. You get a 5.
Yes, mine is 5 for parents helping making the beards.
And then one of the questions was how lifelike was it? I mean, one kid had a tractor on his, and I was like, well, it's not really lifelike, is it? You can't get a tractor in your beard. 3.
But was the tractor realistic though, Dan? Was it a lifelike tractor? That's where
it was a tractor toy.
Maybe you need to go to a beard judging school. Maybe we need to get you up to speed, Dan. I don't think, mate. In fact, we can't avoid the whole thing because the kids have already won. They've already had the trophy presented. It's too late.
But that was quite nice, It was quite a sweet category to do, but I was a bit worried, and I even joked actually because I was sat next to Tony, and I was like, can I cheat? Can I just copy your answers, and then I don't feel so bad about what I put down? And then I've put these results down. He looks over at me and he goes, "That's a bit harsh." I'm like, what? I had to score some differently, so there was an actual winner. And then it turns out that we could have all just scored them all 10s and they could have had joint firsts, but I didn't realise that was a thing.
Well, there you go. An insight into the world of judging. A big shout out to G-Man and Celeste while we're here. They were two of the winners on the day. Sprogs of not together, but Sprogs of Joe DeBill and Dan Silky Brown. They're not, you know what I mean. And also a big shout out to Tony Kelly. Nice to see him there doing some judges. And also Dan, you will forever be known now as the dodgy judge. So we'll never have you again, ever. Not for the kids category anyway. Given a minus
just being realistic.
As a tractor wasn't realistic. Oh.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't the fact the tractor wasn't realistic. It was the fact that you'd never see tractors in a beard.
Well, you obviously don't hang around in the right places.
You know what I mean?
So yeah.
And one of the beads was a little bit out on one of them. There's 2 reds next to each other. I'm like, come on, man, that's just laziness.
That was the one Dan did.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much going on, and it was a whole day of fun and frolics. And of course, all the judging. The highlights for me were the games. There was the Atlas stones, and to put it in a picture, if you weren't there, they weren't real Atlas stones. They looked like real Atlas stones, but they weren't full weight. But it was a race, basically, a race to clip your beard onto an Atlas stone, lift it up without your hand, and pop it on the top. The vehicle pull was epic. You mentioned you name dropped already. So it was Richard Furness was a joint winner with John Connor, and they actually pulled with their beards on a rope a penny farthing with a grown man on it, who also had another grown man holding on to the penny farthing on a skateboard, and
of which he was 23 stone on his own,
and Faith for balance. And I don't mean Faith for balance. I mean Faithy, the lady Faithy.
But gotta have faith. They gotta have faith.
So quite an epic, and I reckon they've got to get going. I reckon if we'd have got a car there, they'd have pulled it. They were strong.
I think this is the getting started with the momentum, isn't it? I mean, once you've got it moving, as long as you keep the momentum going, and obviously some of the devices, because obviously John's clip thing came off. It actually kind of came out, didn't it? And a few of them did. But
I have that device here in my house.
Ah, nice. But there was a slight slope, I noticed, because obviously it goes down to the lawns. So realistically, all you have to do is just get enough momentum and carry it on. And then if you don't let the slack off, the slight slope was actually pulling it down. It was still awesome to watch. And 38 stone.
Do you reckon?
Probably must have been more than that, maybe, actually. Depends how much.
Russell weighs about 4.5 stone wet through, I think.
Yeah.
He's
but there's
strong.
the penny farthing and the skateboard. And then obviously, if Faith was kind of like putting him back a little bit, you know.
And the rope.
Speaking
of rope, Dan, we've got 10 minutes left. Shall we talk about the deceit? Shall we talk about the scandal?
Yeah.
Shall we talk about
you started it?
Red armpit.
You started it.
Right. So let's paint the picture for people. I like to tell a story with a preamble, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So what happened was it was set that although the other categories were beard related and you had to use your beard for strength, there was going to be the tug of war, which was nothing to do with beards, right? Nothing to do with beards. It literally, just a pure muscle of men and or women on a rope, 6 aside. It's important we say that 6 people either side on the rope.
Yeah.
So they were splitting people up into teams. Now I had arranged my team. I had my team. It was a Damo's Birdie Fun Club team, and I've been doing all the work in the weeks leading up to it. But some very, very aggressive training had been involved in putting this team together. And granted, on my team I had about 12 people, which meant I had 6 subs. Right. I wanted to pick the best on the day because on the day, people could have been drunk, people could have, been in fancy dress, or people could have had silly shoes on, or there could have been a number of different reasons why you wouldn't have made it to the final team. So anyway, on the day, I had in my mind the 6 or 8 people because I weren't 100% sure who was going to be there either, of who was going to be on Team DBFC. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these other teams started, and I'm like, well, who else is going to be on a team? Who, like the Mob, they got a little team going on, and then all of a sudden, the Bearded Viking was talking about having a team, and I'm like, hang on a minute. I'd already squared Lewis away. Lewis from the Bearded Viking was going to be my anchor. That was a big part. I got Lewis at the back. I had Mike at the front, Mike Harwood, and he's in the Mob as well, you see. And straight away, I'm like, I'm going to lose players. I also, Dan, you were on my subs list, right? You were on my subs list.
That's it. That's what I mean. That's where it all went wrong. You put me. No. You said, Dan, you could be captain, cheering everyone on. I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm the one guy you want on the team, and you subbed me. You took the first dig. You took the first through the first bunch.
I looked at your shape.
I was sober as well. Didn't drink.
And I thought, is he fired up for this? And then I was actually going around to decide who was going to be in my final 6. And I spoke to you, and you were very motivational, very inspiring, very interesting. And I'm like, yes, Dan can be my captain. That was the last thing I remember before I heard that you defected to another team. Oh,
yeah, because I didn't just want to stand on the sides. I wanted to pull the.
No, you could have captained from the rope, mate. You'd have still been on the rope, captaining. Oh, we've had a
no, because you only had 6 people. You had 6 people, and me
not written
over
down.
On the side,
not written down. The final ones. I had Lewis, Dan, Mike. That was it so far. I was definitely having John Connor, and I was definitely having Charles Bronson. And I wanted to say I couldn't find Andy Darley. I had to run around for ages to find Andy Darley. And didn't he?
Andy Darley, that was probably one of the highlights of my actual day.
Didn't he have a good game?
I honestly, it was probably one of the funniest things. Bless him. He's one of the nicest guys in the world. And I don't want to admit that I laughed at this, but I couldn't help it. But long story short, he did lose his footing, and then your team just got pulled, and he was just getting dragged along the floor as he was lying down on his side. And I did laugh a little bit.
As much as everybody, including yourself, might have laughed a little bit at the hilarity of the situation, I was the only one that ran over to Andy to make sure he wasn't dying, because the rope was wrapped around him and he was just getting dragged along the floor by, might I say, the winning team on the other side, who, it turns out, here's the scandal,
had 7 people.
Technically 8.
Well, one of them was blow up.
Yeah, but still. So they had more people, and that's why poor Andy Darley got pulled through the mud. So,
yeah, because I found that absolutely scandalous because we were like, hang on a minute, why are they absolutely smashing us here? And then we realised they had 7 people.
You lost to them too.
Yeah, because that was the final, was us in the final against them.
Don't say us, Dan, because it wasn't us, was it? Who was your team? Who was it?
Oh, we smashed it. Well, bearing in mind, I had winner of the vehicle pool. We had Fernie in the back there. We had
my
Lewis
mate
Viking.
Richard Fern, yeah.
The thing is, right, I had to pull a team together in like 10 minutes. Like you had months to not put me on the sidelines. Anyway, so I pulled this team together, bearing in mind though as well, like we didn't get any respite between games. The team who beat us had like a good solid 10 minutes to catch their breath and do some stretching. We just beaten the mob, and then it was like, right, you're up again, and we were all dying. I nearly threw up because I'm so unfit. I'm like, oh, arms are burning.
That's why you weren't on my team, Dan. That's why you weren't on my team.
And they're like, yeah, you're up again. You're up again. Like, what do you mean? And Damo's there going, yeah, part of the rules. Yeah, part of the rules. I'm like, yeah, all right. Damo's still bitter. So then we go up against this other team who've had a good 10 minutes. They've had a cup of tea, probably a cigarette, maybe a half hour, maybe 2.5 hours to relax and chill and recuperate. We get on there and wonder why we're losing. And we look down there and they've got 7 people. And we're like, all right, okay. The extra person they had might not have been massively strong, but it's extra weight. Like even if it's an extra 50 kilos, right? That's a lot of more weight to try and pull. So yeah, in my heart, give us another 10 minutes, take the extra person off. We would have battered them.
I'm not name dropping.
We would have battered them.
Just to paint the picture so people can see what's happened. So Noreen, who's the landlady of the pub, she had donned Richard Furness's girlfriend. I don't know if it's girlfriend or wife. Kim. She had this fancy dress outfit on that was phenomenal, and it made her look like she was a mermaid being carried by a pirate. So it was one of them blow up fancy dresses. And it was brilliant. But somehow Noreen, the landlady, had acquired this fancy dress off of Kimmy.
She was drunk as well. She was hammered,
and she had jumped on the tug of war. And then, as much as you might think, well, she's might not be that strong. I saw her in the bar later, and she's strong as fuck. She must have been throwing them kegs and barrels around all day as a landlady because she was proper strong. She was proper strong. So big shout out. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, I'm gutted that I turned it down. I'm gutted that I turned it down because I was still looking for a 6th member of the team, and she was like, she was like, I'll be on your team. She was like, I'm a little bit drunk, and I was like, oh, maybe not then. And now I'm like, oh, actually, maybe if I'd have known that she was going to be a bonus, like, yeah, crack on, like, you come along and be my 7th person. But no, it was still good fun. Definitely felt sick after the second round of doing that.
Did you get any of that redness going on under here? Because old Russell Bristow for sure.
I got it on my arm.
He had some rope. He had some rope on his boob.
Yeah, no, I got it on my arm. I think I caught my nipple was a little bit sore, but I mean it was pretty. Got a little rope on the nipple, but no, it was good fun, and I had to walk away going, yeah, it was just for lols, Dan. Don't take it too seriously. It was just at the end of the night when they all got given their medals, and there clearly wasn't enough medals for their team. That I was like,
that
scandalous, scandal. So yeah, so just out of that, Suze, if you could actually go back and get the medals off of them because they cheated, send me one in the post.
I think while we're talking competitions, we've got a few moments. Let's mention it. You had a little bash at balance and stuff on your tash, didn't you, Dan? And it wasn't looking like this. If you hop over to YouTube now, you'll see Dan's tash. But what was it
was long. It was typical British mustache. Well, one, wasn't really prepared for it. 2, didn't have any. I kind of put like a very light holding mustache wax on it, so I was never intending to enter that game because I didn't have the tash preparation for it. Because I even said, yeah, I'm not going to do that because look, I literally just touched it, my mustache would go down because I hadn't intended to do it. But everyone had gone through the motions of doing it, and Dan Silky Brown was on his own, so he was competing against himself. So I literally slid in and went, can't let a brother down, can't let a brother do it on his own, and sat down and competed alongside him just as a bit of a laugh. I think I got one. I mean, I 100%. I 100% won the most amount on the floor. Like there was about 17. Like I was like, literally, I was like, and at one point I thought most of those were actually on my tash, and I looked down and was like, and then the last one fell off as well, just for good measure, and I was like, oh, did well then. But it was more just a brotherhood thing. It was just like, do you know what? I knew I wasn't going to get many on there, but I'll give it a go. That way Dan's not sat down there on his own.
It was a good bit of fun, wasn't it? And to be fair, Dan Silky Brown absolutely smashed it, and he got like 1 million anyway. So well done, Dan. Dan won in the end. That's the main thing, right? That's the main thing.
Yeah.
We better ought to mention best in show was Beardney Spears. That was an absolute
Beardsley Spears, John Connor's outfit.
delight.
The amazing thing that I was actually talking to him, and I said, "Oh, John, I've just missed you, but your song was just playing, and there was I don't know if it was the band or if it was or not now at this point, but there was a song. It's like, "You'll be a woman soon," and I was just immediately thought of John Connor, because obviously quite a lot of times he dresses up as a woman in his costumes, and I love that. Really good. I need to get my tits out for a trophy.
So again, we have to paint people in the picture because I don't know what we're talking about. There's a fabulous guy in the beard scene, John Connor, we call him, and he dressed up as Britney Spears, and he's a beautiful hand. I tell you what, he's strong as well. That impromptu press up competition we had, which was very late on the Saturday night, he won that. He smashed it out the park. I think he did like 58 press ups in a minute, and bear in mind that's after like 2 days of boozing, and he went like this, and he like that, and I was like. And he's got to be like 50 something, even more than that, maybe.
Yeah.
But he is strong. And I tell you what, when he dresses up as Britney Spears, that is also a strong look. But he's a wonderful chap, very well deserved. So he won the vehicle pool. He won the best in show, and he won. Who must have won his category as well then?
Did he beat Fern in the vehicle pool?
It was joint first. No one could pull any more than that was all we had to pull. That was all of it. That was all of the weight, and they pulled it both.
I thought his device came off, so I thought that's why Fern won. I'm sure his device came off.
No, I'm sure it was a joint first.
I remember seeing it on the floor. I'm sure. But more importantly,
he definitely won 3 things.
Oxford was absolutely outstanding, but we are drawing to a lengthy podcast, and we have to drop in the fact that after long, hard effort and work, Damo and I have officially released the Beardmail Beard Care Box.
Are you sure it's the Beardmail Beard Care Box and it's not the Bear Mail box?
All right, typo on the email that went out, but still, that's why you proofread stuff. Don't get excited and go, just hit the send button. So finally done it. That's the best mail ever, the best kind of mail, beard mail. We've managed to find a couple of some lovely UK independent beard care brands. We've put them in a box. It's called Beardmail. So you can get yours. It's available at www.beardmail.co.uk. It's £34.99, including postage as well. So you're getting about 50 odd quid's worth of stuff for £30 plus postage. Make sure you get it because there's only 50 boxes for the first box as well.
There's only 43 left.
So 43 left at the
Although,
time
hang on,
when we started.
This is going to go. This podcast will go out next Wednesday. They'll probably all be gone by then. They are flying off the shelves.
There'll be loads gone. Also, a shout to any independent UK beard brands as well. If you want to be featured in one of those boxes, we do plan to bring them out monthly if we can. But so any beard brands that want to feature in a box, please do email info@beardmail.co.uk. Let us know you're interested. We'll give you a shout. We'll stick you in the box. We'll put you in the post.
Damn, we are officially the Beardmail boys. We're doing all sorts of Beardmail stuff, right? So we're going to the competitions, we're having fun, we're judging, we're comparing, we're having a stand there, we're meeting people, we're creating memories and moments and experiences. And massively, we forgot to say, my mate Rob came along to the event, filmed the whole thing as a documentary, which has potentially got the skills to become an actual TV series and a show. So big shout out to Flash Buzz actually. But look, if you guys are listening to this podcast, this is the place to be. This is where it's all happening. We're making waves in the beardy world, and it's all really good fun. Dan, I'm really pleased that we've got together. It's taken us months and months to get that box together. And it's our first one to test the water as such. But there's more things coming in the Dan. There's always going to be stuff going on. We're here to entertain you. We're here to educate you. We're here to get you on board. We want to hear about your stories about the Oxford Beard Festival in the comments. We want to hear about your plans for the next beard competition. We're going to be at Beard On soon as well. And we want to hear about everything that is anything to do. If you're in the beardy world, if you're not in the beardy world and you want to get amongst it, come and see us and we'll introduce you to this crazy place that we hang about and have fun in. But absolutely, the Beardmail box is all of the beard care that you're going to need, at least for this month. You might need some more for next month. So we're doing
you definitely need some more for next month. But yeah, no, loads planned. I mean, I don't even know if we've mentioned our plans to go to the Worlds next year on the podcast yet. But we'll talk about that another time. We've got loads of stuff happening. What we want to try and produce within the bearding community is to bring beard communities together, whether that be Home of the Beardos, whether that be Beardy Banter, Mob, everyone, bring them together, part of a community. But it's just, and the Damo's Beardy Fun Club, which we're not supposed to talk about, I thought, but just so yeah, just watch your space, because we want to do some cool stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it. And we've already done some cool stuff, but we're going to do more cool stuff.
We're always doing cool stuff.
And obviously we're going to invite you guys as well to be a part of some of this cool stuff that we're doing as well. So
thank you for listening and watching. Go and follow us on TikTok as well, because we're doing some stuff on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and we're all over the shop. If you want live, also, we want to see your live unboxings. I'm doing live unboxings as regularly as I can in the Facebook group, but we want to see yours too. So get in that Facebook group and do your live unboxings. If you buy or if you've bought a Beardmail box, shout about it. Get on the socials and take a picture of. Can they say what they've got, or is it a surprise? Is it a mystery? They can, right? They can say what's in the box.
I guess once the first box has gone out in the post, I think people can share about it.
They're going to know.
Yeah, someone's going to slip it in there. But I mean, like, maybe don't. Maybe if we say don't share the contents, because it is a surprise box. Like, we haven't said what's in the box. So maybe it'd be good to keep it a bit exclusive and surprise. I don't know. We have to see how that goes. But it'd be nice for the first box if people opened it and went, "Oh yeah," rather than
maybe we should always have something in the box that is top secret that you're not allowed to tell people about, because there is in the box there is a particular thing that you're only going to ever get one of them if you buy that box, and there's only 43 of them left now. So stuff like that is like keep that top secret maybe. But the other stuff,
so there's a couple of items in there that you won't get again. So yeah.
Exciting times, isn't it, Dan? Exciting times. We got to wrap it up because it's 36 minutes now. And we need to go for show. Dan, it's been lovely catching up with you, chatting about the Oxford Beard Festival. Big shout out to Susan and Faithy and Gray and everybody involved. Didn't even mention the bloody bands. They had the ISIS City Rockers and the Burlesque people. The Scarlet Vixens were there, and the Loosest Screw, Tightest Screw. I can't remember the name of the band. That's how many beers we had. But anyway, we had a lovely, lovely day. Hopefully we do it all again next year. I've got a feeling, Dan, that beard competitions are going to be mega next year. So thanks for watching and or listening, and we'll see you all soon. Get over to www.beardmail.co.uk to check out Dan's box. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now. Just say bye, Dan.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening or watching the Beardmail podcast. We have new episodes dropping at 07:30 a.m. every Wednesday in UK time. So we thank you very much for watching. Check us out on www.beardmail.co.uk for everything that's new and happening soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Hello, our extra special listeners that listen way past when we've finished doing the podcast. We appreciate you. We love you. We like you. Have you bought your Beardmail box yet? We didn't mention on the podcast, Dan, but can we say that I actually won the Atlas Stones, and I'm very happy about that. Boom!
Yeah, congratulations on your Atlas Stone winning. I didn't win anything.
Well, there's always next time. Dan, say something really quirky and cool and fun and cool just for the people that stay after the podcast is finished.
Something really quirky and cool that I'm going to say just as the podcast finishes.
Boom!